The G.Skill KM70RGB versus the Siig 7 color. What kind of comparison is this? I'm Rio Gion and welcome to Rio Gion Keyboards. The layout of the 7 color is great because it's really easy to find keycap replacements. On the other hand, the KM780's layout is extremely hard to find keycap replacement for. It's because of that spacebar and the macro buttons. If you want to fully replace all of the keycaps, then I honestly believe it's next to impossible, because I looked everywhere for that spacebar and can't really find one. In case if you're curious, it's a 5.5U spacebar and I'm looking for a PBT double shot translucent black keycap. I have not yet found a replacement spacebar for the KM780 and it's pretty frustrating. If you plan on modding your keyboards and replacing keycaps, then I recommend you get the 7 color over the KM780. Besides the layout, the 780 makes up for it with dedicated volume wheel, media control, profile switcher, Windows lock. For the 7 color, everything else is bound to the F keys. If you want a keyboard that is filled to the brim with extra features, then the KM780 is the one to go with. Being a gaming keyboard, I really like the font of the KM780. They look very professional. But besides the font, the KM70 is through and through a gaming keyboard. I wouldn't recommend bringing this to the office unless you really want the attention. The same can be said for the 7 color. If you turn off the lighting, then you might be able to get away with it, but the wrist rest and that font will cause some attention as well. Both keyboards having the same floating key design, which I really like because it makes the keyboard really easy to clean. The 7 color have the logo on top of the arrow key, which some of you may hate, and the KM70 have their gaming logo on top of the keyboard, which is alright, but I think that some of you may just hate that as well. Both keyboards have aluminum back plates, which makes the keyboards look very premium. I do prefer the KM780 because black is more stealth than silver. If you're new to the channel and haven't subscribed yet, then hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for the latest content. The KM780 uses Cherry MX RGB switches, which has its ups and downs. Because when Corsair uses the RGB blue, I read the reviews and people are experiencing lots of problems with the switch, such as inconsistency or some of the switch not even working. Others have said the switch is either too stiff, but there's a break-in period with the switches, so that issue is solved over time. I would say that the MX blue is a proven switch, but I would not say the same thing for the MX RGB blue due to the issues in the beginning. Then again, Cherry is a big manufacturer of mechanical switches, so they should be able to fix all of those problems by now. In case you're wondering, I didn't experience any problems that I mentioned earlier, although the keyboard did feel a bit stiff when I first got it, but now it feels very smooth. On the other hand, we have the 7 colors, which uses Ultemu blue, which is a clone of the Cherry MX blue, and in some cases I noticed people preferring the Ultemu blue over the MX blue because they say it's sharper. I wouldn't say that it's sharper, but it definitely does feel lighter than the MX blue. At least the one that I got feel lighter. I have noticed inconsistency with the right arrow and the right control key. I'll put a link to the review of the keyboard below that like button for you guys to check it out. At the end of the day, Ultemu is relatively new to the market, so I would say give them a chance to prove themselves in the market. You do get what you pay for. Both keyboards uses Cherry stabilizers, so it's a lot easier to clean the keyboard with these stabilizers, at the trade-off of the longer keys not feeling quite as sharp. The Co-Star stabilizers give the keyboard a sharper feel for the longer keys, but they are very annoying when it comes to taking out the longer keycaps because you have to take out the wire. I'll leave a link to the video on how to take out the wires in the description box below. If you don't plan on taking out the longer keys to clean or replace keycaps, then the Co-Star stabilizers are a way to go. But if you do clean your keyboard often and replace keycaps, then stick with Cherry stabilizers. The 7 colors have double shot ABS, which is really nice considering the price. On the other hand, the KM780, which typically would cost more than the 7 colors, have thin ABS keycaps. It doesn't make sense how the cheaper keyboard have better keycaps, but it is what it is, and if you're watching this video, then I'll bet you're scratching your head wondering why. The good thing about the keycaps for the KM780 is that the font is really good. I really like the font. Then again, I do know quite a few people that are into the gamer font, so your tastes will vary. If you're not familiar with high quality keycaps, then this wouldn't matter to you, but this is definitely something worth pointing out. The back of the 7 colors shows the cutout for the wrist rest. As a heads up, the wrist rest for the 7 colors is supposed to be stuck to the keyboard, but if you really hate the wrist rest, then you can probably rip it off pretty easily. On the other hand, the wrist rest on the KM780 is detachable, but watch out for those thin little plastic pieces because I think they can easily be broken. If you happen to break them, then I would suggest getting something like super glue and see if you can stick them back together. Both keyboards have rubber pads that keep the board planted during heavy typing or heavy gaming sessions. However, only the 7 color have rubber feet, which again makes me kind of question why the cheaper keyboard have better feet. The great thing about the KM70 is that you get USB pass-through and this little plastic piece that can sort of act like a mouse bungee. Both keyboards have braided cable and gold USB tips. The 7 colors have cable management Velcro, which is something that I have grown to love, but the KM780 counters the 7 color with audio pass-through. So it's pretty neck and neck because one keyboard have things that other keyboard lacks. It's truly up to you to see if you can get what you want out of your keyboard. The KM780 have more lighting features from my eyes, and I see that the KM780 is also brighter than the 7 colors. Also, the KM780 is fully RGB, which means that every single key can be changed into a different color, even the dedicated buttons on the top. The 7 color is stuck with the colors that are on the keyboard, so it's not RGB, just to be sure. I know that some of these 7 color keyboards would be shady enough to say that the keyboard RGB when it's not. This keyboard is not the case because they say it's 7 colors on the box, so at least they're trying to be honest with you. I know there are arguments saying that the 7 color keyboards should not exist in the market because it can be very misleading to some people that doesn't know any better when buying these keyboards. Comment down below and let me know what you think about this argument. Should the 7 color keyboard still exist in the market? The 7 colors is completely plug and play, while the KM780 does require software to control the lighting and macros. Another thing I wanted to point out is that even though the 7 colors have G keys on the top of the number row, it doesn't mean that those are macro keys. They are lighting control options for certain game types. The software on the KM780 is not the best, it's not the worst, it's smack dab in the middle with the features that it has. I wish there is more layering effects like Corsair, but this company isn't as big, so I can forgive something like not having multiple layerings, but it would be very nice to have. Also, I noticed that there is import and export feature for the profiles, but I couldn't find any custom lighting profiles when I look them up. Hopefully, if you can help me by sharing this video to other people so that we can have the company grow, and for those that already bought the keyboard, then you really should share the video and support because this is how we can get the message across. Hopefully with enough support we can make the developers improve the software to add more lighting effects and have a stronger community with custom lighting profiles. Here's to the future of the G.Skill software. I'm surprised to say this, but there are moments when I would want to type on the 7 colors more than the KM780. I like the click from the 7 colors, plus I do believe that Ultimu on the 7 colors is lighter than the MX RGB blue on the KM780, or it could just be because I type on so many keyboards and I'm slowly going insane. I spend the time and type on both keyboards back to back. The Ultimu blue from the 7 colors seems to have a smoother transition from key to key. I feel like I'm gliding more as I'm typing. On the KM780, I feel like I'm stopping each time I move from key to key. If you haven't had the chance to compare both keyboards side by side, then it's quite hard, but the best way to say this is that the KM780 is definitely geared towards more of the heavy-handed typist, while the 7 colors leaning towards people that like the click but want a lighter feeling switch. The only thing that really worries me is that there's a good chance you probably won't get the same keyboard as I do when you buy the 7 color. I did a little research and the clone keyboards tend to be widely inconsistent, so you can get lucky and get a keyboard with the switch that feel is suited for you, or you could get a keyboard that's exactly the opposite of what you want. If you plan on buying this keyboard or other clone keyboards, then buy it with a grain of salt because you might not get what you wanted. Both keyboards are priced very differently and both keyboards have their highs and lows. If you're an MMO gamer or you edit lots of videos, then you want to go with the KM780 because you get to macro every single key, plus there's a bank of macro keys on the side. If you're an FPS gamer, then the 7 color would be a better choice only because the switch doesn't feel as stiff and the keys are more comfortable to hold for longer durations. If you play a lot of RTS, then I'm leaning towards the KM780 because you might just need to macro certain switches and it could be stiff enough where you won't be making too many mistakes. Prices are always subject to change, but you can expect to find the 7 colors somewhere at the mid 60s. You can expect to find the KM780 between the low to mid 130s. Of course, I will provide links to the keyboards and I recommend you constantly click on those links to get the best deal possible. Comment down below and let me know, of the 2 keyboards, which one would you buy? I'd love to see your opinions in the comment section. If you haven't subscribed yet, then it's time to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to become part of the mighty notification squad. As always, have an awesome day.